Hi everyone, Verinius here, and today I'll be teaching you some techniques on how to fight with Firaga. This is an advanced tutorial, so I won't go into details of the fire materia itself. Instead, I will focus on how to maximize the insane damage of Firaga, which is the level 3 version of the fire materia. I'll start off by saying that these tips apply primarily to Firaga and not Fire or Fira. The reason is that Fire and Fira have a lower damage and a smaller area of effect compared to Firaga. Given the skill required to land this materia, most of the time you will miss with Fire and Fira, and if you do land it, the payoff isn't worth it. Now I won't mention the damage values of Fire and Fira, but we will review Firaga. For non-sorcerers, Firaga deals 102 damage. This allows you to kill players with 2 consecutive Firaga hits, assuming you don't give them time to recover HP. This is also good for finishing off players after landing a melee combo with your fully upgraded melee weapon. I recommend running Firaga for ninjas because of the double jump, and warriors because of the lethal melee combo with Firaga finish. For sorcerers, Firaga deals 63 damage per fireball with a fully upgraded staff. Remember that leveling up your staff will increase materia damage. Now, while sorcerers deal less damage per fireball, it can hit 3 times, which leads to a higher damage output overall. If you have the precise casting ability equipped, it can even do critical hits. This makes Firaga extremely deadly in the hands of a sorcerer. Now let's go to the tips on how to fight with Firaga. Tip number 1, aim at where the enemy will be. This is the most important thing to keep in mind when using Firaga. The rest of the tips will only be reinforcing this. Generally, when we aim, we try to focus directly on the opponent. But when using Firaga, you have to predict the enemy's movements and shoot it in advance. You have to account for the distance, the travel speed, and the cast delay. If you're casting Firaga at a running opponent and you're aiming at where they are instead of where they will be, you will most likely miss. This brings me to my next point. Tip number 2, aim at walls and floors. Firaga has a huge area of effect upon contact. You will deal the same amount of damage whether you hit people right at the center or at the edges of the area of effect. However, before you deal AoE damage, first it has to make contact. When you shoot Firaga directly at a player, they can easily dodge it by rolling or just by running sideways. But if you target the floor or the wall beside them, you will have better chances of dealing damage. This is very useful when using ninja with Firaga and bomb launcher because you can get good angles where you can hit walls and floors. Also, keep this in mind when doing the warrior melee combo or any melee combo for any class. After you knock back your opponent, cast Firaga on the floor, and boom, they are dead. Tip number 3, master the Firaga pattern. You have to know the difference between casting Firaga while standing or running and casting Firaga while looking down. You see, Firaga is not a gun, it's a skill shot. When you are standing and you cast Firaga, it will travel through an arc and goes down. It does not go in a straight line. Pay attention to my crosshair or reticle. Now compare it to when I start casting Firaga. The trajectory of Firaga goes above my crosshair. It travels upwards first, then goes down. You can see this better when I get closer to the wall. Keep this in mind when casting Firaga while standing still, running, or shooting at close range. However, Firaga works differently when cast while you are looking down. It sort of travels in a straight line. That's why you see me jumping while casting Firaga. That's why you see ninjas double jumping and casting Firaga. That's why I use arrow, use it to get high in the air and then cast Firaga. Aiming downwards from a higher elevation makes it a bit easier to aim with Firaga. And don't forget, aim at where your opponent will be. Keep in mind that the higher you are, the more difficult it is to predict where your opponent will be because there is a longer travel time you have to account for. So my advice would be to get to a lower elevation, or if you're using arrow, wait until you're a bit lower before shooting that Firaga. Lastly, when fighting on slopes, I advise fighting with you and your opponent running sideways so you can aim at a higher ground beside them, which acts as a sort of wall. It's difficult to aim when you're looking downwards at a slope unless there's a cliff or wall beside them. So in this clip you can see me fighting two people at once and they are teammates. I managed to down one of them, so I start chasing the other guy. However, the other guy starts going down the slope, but luckily there is a floor which I can target and that also kills him. That's it for this advanced tutorial on Firaga. If you have any suggestions for a tutorial, let me know in the comments section below. I will also appreciate any likes, shares, and subscribes. Thank you very much and best of luck, soldiers.